let's talk about UCLA basketball for a moment, because I have a few questions, and I think to be honest with you, the UCLA fan base has a few questions, and by that I mean not the ideal start, I think, of the season. If we're just being honest with each other, not what you guys had in mind, especially with the new hire of Mick Cronin. Yeah. But you guys did seem to find your footing as the season went on, and really were making a late push and became a team that no one really wanted to face as we kind of drew closer to Selection Sunday. Obviously, lose that last game against SC in heartbreaking fashion, but still might have had a chance to make some noise in the Pac-12 tournament, and then eventually go on to the big dance there in March. But I'm just curious, what was it like to kind of go through that kind of a season with the ups and downs, and then really kind of come together, find your footing right as the tournament's about to start, and then have that kind of taken away from you with the whole pandemic?
Yeah, so, I mean, with every new team and new coach, there's always going to be some sort of, drawback, and the players have to get accustomed to the coaches and whatnot. So, there's always time. You got to have time to gel for a team. And you look at, any NBA team that's, had some great players and, new coaching staff and whatnot. Like, I don't know, my Miami Heat, when LeBron went to Miami, it took him a year to kind of get accustomed to his players and coaches. So, it's going to take some time. People aren't going to gel right away. And that's kind of what we were going through at the start of the season, and people kind of saw that. But as the season went on, it was one of the most fun seasons I've had at UCLA. Despite my freshman year when we were number 2, 3 in the country, it kind of felt like that a little bit. Just because I think it was after the biggest turnaround was the Washington game. It was, I think, right after we lost to Cal State Fullerton, I want to say, at home. I think a lot of people were kind of shitting on us and, thought like, oh, Cronin, this was the wrong guy to hire, whatnot. And then I think once we flipped the switch at Washington, we kind of went on a run there. And I think the players kind of bought in a little bit. And they kind of bought into Cronin's style of coaching, which is, defense and intensity. And, if you don't play defense, you're not walking up. If you let your man drive by, you're getting taken out of the game. So I think people kind of bought into that. And, it's a tough way of coaching, but once people buy in, I mean, you kind of get a mentality of, we're not going to lose anymore. So I think halfway through this season and kind of towards the end of the season, we kind of hit our stride. And I remember we, went into the mountain trips, and we played Utah and Colorado. And Colorado was, I think, they were ranked 20th in the country, and went in there and no one thought we were going to win, and we beat them. And then we came back and, we had the Arizonas, and everyone was like, they can't win both games.
Right. Well, I remember when you guys were playing Arizona, and that was, I want to say, a week before you guys ended up wrapping up the season against SC.
Yeah.
That, Pauly was vibrant and it was going off again, and, Bill Walton and Richard Jefferson and the play-by-play commentator for ESPN were basically saying how great it was to have that energy back in Westwood, a school that has so much history in the sport of basketball, and just have UCLA basketball back on the map finally, which is something that, I've been thirsty for years. And we had that little, bright moment with Lonzo, TJ Leaf, and Ike. A few years ago, but exactly. But do you think that Mick was the right hire? Obviously, you look back at the Ben Howland era, he was, very intense and stylistically, in terms of how he went about his business, seems a lot more similar to Cronin, more so than a guy like Alford, who seemed more, at least on the surface, from an observer on the outside looking in, it appeared to be he was a lot more reserved and calm. And so do you find that going back to a guy who is a lot more intense like Mick, that was the right choice?
Oh, yeah. Cronin's – I think Cronin's definitely the coach for UCLA. I think before we hired Cronin, I think the problem was that we had a culture that, when people looked at UCLA, they thought, oh, they're not tough. They're just a soft team with a bunch of talent. And I think UCLA really wanted to change that. I think when Cronin came in, he kind of had that element of toughness and different culture being from Cincinnati, kind of brought it to UCLA, and I think that's really going to change how we do things around here. And I think you can kind of tell once players started to buy in at the end of this last season that it's going to work. So I'm excited to see the next couple of years as an alumni, just to see where coach is able to take the team.
Yeah, Isaac, I have a question too. Why do you think that people finally started to buy into the program? I remember I lived with Kelsey, and she her boyfriend's Jake Kyman. I remember there was just at the beginning when he came that it wasn't really drama, but people weren't bought into him and his way of coaching in the program. So why do you think the team made that culture shift? Was there certain players on the team that brought it back together, or was it just all of a sudden like you win a game and it feels like there's hope again? What
definitely winning at Washington definitely helped. When you're beat to a pole, as much as we were when teams like Cal State Fullerton were beating you at home, you're definitely going to lose some confidence. So winning that game in Washington definitely helped. But it's also kind of the way of coaching, the way of style. Like, he's going to beat you down so much that you're going to become, like at the beginning of the season, he beat us down so much that we became so tough and result to it. And so when something like Washington comes around, when we get the glimpse of hope, people kind of rally around a little bit more than they would have earlier, because they see that we have so much potential. So it's kind of the element of sticking together, and that's kind of what he's all about. And we were able to sit together and get a couple good wins and a couple good opportunities where people kind of see hope, and that's kind of what built that.
Isaac, I want to ask you, because I remember I was on the phone with you right after you guys landed in Vegas. I think this was the night before the Pac-12 tournament got canceled. How did you find out about the Pac-12 tournament getting canceled?
Yeah, well, we arrived in Vegas. It was 2 days before we were actually going to play, and everything was fine before then. But I remember we practiced the first day, practiced the second day, and then at the end of the night before we were going to play, we were at dinner in the restaurant in the hotel, and we were looking up at the TV, and they kind of said NBA suspended indefinitely or whatnot. And we kind of looked at each other and we're like, wow. Like, I think you guys can attest to that too. Like, that was the first kind of step in the building blocks of like dominoes just falling. After that, we were just kind of like, everything after that just kind of changed. So we kind of looked at each other and we're like, wow, could this end? Could our season in the Pac-12 end? So we went to bed and we woke up the next morning. It was like 8 a.m. We're supposed to leave for the game at 10. And I think it was 8:30 rolled around, and we were just kind of scrolling on our phones through Twitter. And I think I saw a tweet saying that, the Pac-12 released a statement saying the Pac-12 tournament's canceled. And then we're all just extremely bummed, and because we wanted that extra chance because we lost to SC our last game, so we were looking for revenge. So we were extremely bummed, and then we just had a team meeting. We went to breakfast, and it was just weird because instead of driving to the arena, we drove to the airport. So it was just the strangest thing, and it was a real bummer.
Isaac, I'm not sure if the NCAA is still working out the finer details on what certain players' options will be, given that if you were a winter or spring athlete, and having your season cut short because of the pandemic, if you're going to be able to return next year and basically, I guess, call it a coronavirus redshirt year. Have you given any thought to potentially returning for a fifth year if it is indeed an option, or has this been it? Have we seen the last of Isaac Wulff at UCLA? and if so, what does that mean to kind of think about how it's a wrap?
Hey, I haven't officially released my statement for the NBA draft, so I might be coming back. You don't know, so I'm going to keep you guys guessing there. But
we're not getting any breaking news here.
Breaking news on RockEFeller right now.
Come on, man! We're a new show here. I need that publicity, asshole.
Yeah, you guys are gonna hear it here first. A lot of publicity, but no, I accepted the job in real estate, so I'm gonna be getting into the corporate world. starting July 1st. So no return for me.
You know, I hope for your sake that just because of how much a role basketball has played in your life, that you watched the Jordan documentary last night, and if so, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was super fun to watch. I remember when we were getting ready to watch it, like an hour or two before, it literally felt like a Super Bowl type atmosphere. I know my mom and my brother were getting appetizers ready to sit down and watch this. It's unreal experience. And then when we turned it on, it's super cool to watch because, we never lived in that era. So it's, people always tell us, oh, how can you judge Jordan, blah, blah. So it's cool to kind of get the backstory of everything and see how good he really was. Because I remember last night in the documentary, he had, 63 against the Celtics in a playoff game?
Right.
It's never been done before. So it's cool to watch in that aspect, but also it's going to be a lot more fun to watch considering the whole Last Dance year and how they won that last year. So it's really going to evolve into something cool. So I'm excited to see.
Before we let you go here, I wanted to just ask you, just really quickly, just because, when you think about Jordan, you got to think about Kobe. I mean, they almost go hand in hand. And with that being said, when you think about Kobe, you got to think about one other guy, and that'd be Shaquille O'Neal. Now, we all know that Shareef was a part of the UCLA program for a while, and then has since made the decision to transfer to LSU, his father's alma mater, which is pretty cool, and I wish him all the best, and I hope that, he finds whatever he was in search for there, and is a big part of their team. But I'm just curious, what's it like to not have him be a part of the UCLA family anymore, and if you have any theories about maybe why he left, if you want to shed any light on that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a bummer to see one of your teammates leave, but it's every person who has a scholarship in college basketball wants to go to the NBA, and every person kind of has a different journey and how to get there, and I think Reef just saw a different path to go to the NBA, and I think especially LSU, he wanted to kind of go to his dad's alma mater and kind of play there. So, and maybe he saw more opportunity to play there. He wasn't getting, as you guys know, I think, the minutes that he wanted to at UCLA. So just a lot of factors of, not playing as much as he wanted to, and, I guess wanted to play for his dad's team. So, I mean, there's always different theories, but it's his journey, it's his path to go to the NBA, and whatever path he chooses to best get there is his decision. So I wish him the best of luck, of course, and he'll always be loved and missed at UCLA for sure.
Yeah, what's great is that it was just announced that his sister and one of Shaq's other kids is also committed to LSU, so you're gonna have two O'Neal kids. Yeah, representing the Tigers next season, assuming we have a season. I have my fingers crossed. Hey, well, thank you for joining us again, and we appreciate it, man. Stay safe and be well, brother.
Thanks for having me, guys.